Good afternoon. Hi up there. It's good to see you all. Thank you for being here today. We are so glad that you could join us for what we know will be a very momentous day for the museum, for the state of North Carolina, and of course for the paleontology community. When we opened the Dueling Dinosaurs exhibit in April of last year, we noted that the way we designed the entire experience, inviting the public to follow the scientific discoveries in real time and participate in the research, would set a new standard for museums. Well, today we are here to share with you the first major research finding coming out of the Dueling Dinosaurs and the SECU Dino Lab. My name's Denise Young. I am proud, always proud, and especially proud today to be the director of the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. I'm so proud today to welcome you here for this announcement. Now, I'm not here to play spoiler, so I'm going to leave the good news to Dr. Zano, but I would like to thank the many people that brought this day to fruition. First, I want to thank the Friends of the North Carolina State Museum of Natural Sciences who acquired these wonderfully preserved fossils and gifted them to the museum almost 5 years ago. I would also like to thank the supporters who made this acquisition possible, including leadership support from the State Employees Credit Union Foundation, Duke Energy, the North Carolina GlaxoSmithKline Foundation, and Wake County, among others. The state of North Carolina is also a major supporter of the Dueling Dinosaurs project, and as well as the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and we are so incredibly grateful. I would also like to thank the leadership of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and I would also like to thank our colleagues at North Carolina State University who provide support for Dr. Zano's work. And of course, thank you to all of the staff at the museum. Your enthusiasm, your great gift for showcasing the amazing biodiversity we have in this state, all of that helps inspire and prepare the next generation of scientists. Now I'd like to introduce Pamela Brewington Cashwell. She is the Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources and a member of Governor Josh Stein's cabinet. Secretary Cashwell oversees the department's more than 100 locations across the state, and if you've heard her speak before, she will say she has the best job in state government. Please help me welcome Secretary Cashwell.
Good morning. You know what? Hold on. To turn off this other mic. I think that's the problem. Bear with me. Sorry, y'all. See if that's off. Okay, test. Nope. There we go. It's off, so I don't know what. Okay, let me just back up. All right. Thank you, Denise. Thank you very much. As Director Young said, I do have the best job in state government. I definitely feel that way. Sorry, let me see if I can. I don't know why I'm getting so much feedback. This mic is off. Okay. Is that better? Okay, good. Usually I don't think it's this thing. It's not on anymore. Okay? All right. Sorry about that. So I am beyond excited to be here with you all this morning, and thank you to everyone who is joining us for what is literally the most significant dinosaur news of the decade. First of all, though, I want to bring you greetings on behalf of our Governor, Josh Stein. Governor Stein is in Japan, you may know. He's doing some economic development work there, but really wanted to ensure that I share his greetings with you, his regret that he's not here, and most importantly, his excitement for this announcement today. He is super, super excited. As Denise said, I do have the incredible honor of serving as secretary at the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. And of our 100 sites that we manage, this is one of the most visited places in North Carolina, this museum. And importantly, a lot of those visitors are school children from across North Carolina who come and visit, and they get to experience science up close here. That's what the interactive Dueling Dinosaurs Lab is all about. Being able to watch discoveries as they unfold in real time, in a real laboratory, and it's a remarkable experience for our visitors to the museum. Again, I want to also thank our employees because this wonderful experience would not exist without the amazing employees we have. Y'all, I'm so sorry about the feedback in this. I don't know why that's happening. And I also want to thank our partners at NC State, which are so critical in other areas, not just in paleontology, but we work with them in other areas as well, like astronomy. And notably, this groundbreaking scientific discovery, coming from a museum that belongs to the people of North Carolina, in partnership with a public university in North Carolina, should make us all really, really proud. It certainly makes me proud. This announcement today is going to inspire students. It's going to bring tourists from across the state, the country, and the world. This news will help us look at our ecosystem in a new and different way. So thank you again for being here. I don't want to delay the great announcement any longer. Please join me in welcoming our amazing head of paleontology here at the museum, Dr. Lindsay Zano.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the museum. When we started the Dueling Dinosaurs project, we promised transparency and relevance, engagement, and impact. And today, we make good on all those promises with some pretty surprising science. Because today, we get to reveal the identity of the Dueling Dinosaurs Tyrannosaur. This discovery that I'm going to talk to you about this afternoon is changing the way we think about Earth's most famous predator, Tyrannosaurus rex, and the ecosystems that it inhabited 67 million years ago before the asteroid impact. Now, to understand this story, we need to travel back in time to 1946, when a small Tyrannosaur skull was named a new species of Tyrannosaur called Gorgosaurus lancensis. This skull was found in the very same rocks as the famous Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, about 4 decades later, paleontologists took a new look at this same skull and decided it wasn't Gorgosaurus at all and needed a new genus, and so they coined the moniker Nanotyrannus. Just 1 decade later, though, Tyrannosaur experts started to doubt the validity of Nanotyrannus, with many arguing that instead of representing a unique species, Nanotyrannus was simply a juvenile growth stage of Tyrannosaurus rex, and that Tyrannosaurus rex was so different from other theropods that it would be the only large predator to inhabit these end Cretaceous ecosystems. This debate has raged for the last 3 decades. It has been one of the most controversial and acrimonious debates in all of dinosaur paleontology. And one of the reasons for that is that the holotype or name-bearing specimen of Nanotyrannus lancensis is simply a small, isolated skull, and not even a terribly well-preserved skull, and that the rest of the body of this intriguing dinosaur was not discovered. And this is where our new specimen comes into play. We acquired the most complete skeleton of a small-bodied tyrannosaur that's ever been found in the same rocks as Nanotyrannus and Tyrannosaurus rex. And so we began to think we might be able to test and potentially settle this long-standing debate. And so we started by examining this remarkably 100% complete, three-dimensionally preserved, articulated Tyrannosaur skeleton. And then we spent the next 2 years traveling all over the world, personally examining over 120 different tyrannosaurs by comparison. We also had this incredible skull to work with, so we knew we needed to use the most cutting-edge technology to see inside that skull, to look at the bones that we couldn't see with our naked eye. And so we took this skull all over the US to several CT and synchrotron scanning facilities so that we could peer inside and reconstruct the internal anatomy of the dueling dinosaur Tyrannosaur skull. What we found in doing all of this is that the unique pattern of sinuses and the way the bones articulate in the skull and the pattern of cranial nerves in our Tyrannosaur here at the museum most closely matches the morphology that we see of the skull that has the name Nanotyrannus lensensis. More than that, these features are very, very different than what we observe in Tyrannosaurus rex. But one could argue that maybe Tyrannosaurus rex is different. Maybe this is still a growth change, and we see all of these features changing as Tyrannosaurus rex grows up. So to address that question, we wanted to know what does and doesn't change as close relatives of dinosaurs develop from babies to adults. And to do that, we took a look at the closest living relatives of dinosaurs, crocodiles, and we traced how their skulls change as they grow from babies to adults to identify what stays the same. We also looked within the family tree of tyrannosaurs themselves. We looked at growth series of other tyrannosaurs, including this animal, Tarbosaurus, which is the most closely related tyrannosaur to Tyrannosaurus rex. And what we found was that all these things that are different about the skull of Nanotyrannus, from the nerve patterns to the sinus orientations and lots of the orientations of the bones and teeth and other features, these are not things that change as dinosaurs or even living animals today grow from babies to adult. These are things that are fixed very early in the development of an animal, and they stay the same as that animal grows up. So that made us think that, in fact, we had a Nanotyrannus lensensis specimen here at the museum. But of course, we don't have just a skull. For the first time, we have an outstandingly preserved skeleton to back that up. And when we started looking across the skeleton of our supposed Nanotyrannus, we found some very interesting things. So you're all familiar with the tiny arms of T.Rex, right? Well, let me give you a life-size, to-scale comparison of the arm of the largest T.Rexes. Okay, these are animals that are over 40 feet long, would barely fit in this space. All right, let's lay the arm of our little dueling dinosaurs Tyrannosaur 1-to-1 scale next to that T.Rex arm. And what you'll see is that not only is the arm the same size as a huge Tyrannosaurus rex arm, but the hand itself is actually bigger, okay, than the hand of even the largest Tyrannosaurus rex specimens. Now, you'll know that as you grow from baby to adult, some parts of your body change size relative to one another, right? You have a big head and a small body when you're a baby, and as you grow up, your body grows faster than your skull. But your head doesn't shrink, right? So this kind of thing would have to shrink the hand bones of these animals to fit into the story of Tyrannosaurus rex. Similarly, in the legs, we see leg bones and foot bones that are the same length as Tyrannosaurus rex already in our small-bodied animal, but the proportions of these bones are quite different. As opposed to the stocky foot of an animal like T.Rex, our animal has a foot that's the same length, but splint-like and built for a completely different lifestyle. We also see things like in the tail, where Nanotyrannus has a much shorter tail than things like Tyrannosaurus rex. So all of that is well and good. We looked at the anatomy and we determined that, yeah, this doesn't fit our expectations of how a T-Rex would grow. But what kind of evidence would we really want if we wanted to disprove for sure that all Nanotyrannus specimens are juvenile T-Rex? Well, what we would want is a fully mature Nanotyrannus, not a juvenile Nanotyrannus. And so to test that, we actually take a look inside the limb bones of dinosaurs, because dinosaurs grow like trees. When they're growing quickly during times when there's a lot of resources, and then when seasons get rough, they slow down and stop that growth, and they leave rings inside their bone. And so we cut into the bones of the dueling dinosaur Tyrannosaur, both the upper leg and the lower leg, and we traced those rings around those sections. And we took a look at both the number of annual growth rings in the bones and their relative spacing to one another. And what we can see is that early in the life of our Tyrannosaur, it was growing very quickly. It was a teenager going through a growth spurt. But just before it died, those annual growth lines become very compact. And that means our animal was stopping its growth. And so we know that the dueling dinosaur's Tyrannosaur cannot be a juvenile T-Rex because it's not a juvenile at all. This is nearly a fully grown, fully mature animal. We wanted to know then, how does that compare with the growth of T-Rex? So we cut into and borrowed sections from lots of tyrannosaurs all over the country, and thank you to the colleagues that provided these specimens so we could look at them in person here. And we were able to model the growth of both Nanotyrannus and Tyrannosaurus rex. And what we found was that these animals had completely different growth strategies and lifestyles. Nanotyrannus is an animal that takes about 20 years to achieve a body mass of about 2,000 pounds, and it's only about 20 feet long. By contrast, Tyrannosaurus rex achieves 10 times, 1 order of magnitude, the mass in 30 years, and is about twice as large as Nanotyrannus. Then we wanted to know a little bit more about how does our discovery shake up the family tree, and is Nanotyrannus even closely related to Tyrannosaurus rex? And so we compiled a whole new suite of morphological characters and rebuilt the Tyrannosaur family tree. And what we found is that Tyrannosaurus is only very distantly related to Nanotyrannus. These are animals that are distant cousins on the Tyrannosaur family tree, and they probably split off from one another about 100 million years ago. So what does all of this tell us about ancient life? Well, for a long time, we thought that Tyrannosaurus rex was the only tyrannosaur and the only major predator in these famous ecosystems of Western North America just before the asteroid impact. We now know that running alongside that massive, heavily built predator with powerful bite forces and teeth the size of bananas was a tiny, fast predator that could have run under the legs of T-Rex, a pursuit predator built for speed called Nanotyrannus. There's other implications. In looking at all those different tyrannosaurs, we revisited another famous tyrannosaur skeleton. And for those of you on the third floor, this is a skeleton you can see right next to where you are on exhibit. This is a famous specimen called Jane. Now, one of the problems with Jane is that we've had access to Jane for a couple of decades, but Jane doesn't quite look exactly like Nanotyrannus lancensis. So we used the new information we had about the skull of our dueling dinosaurs, Tyrannosaur, and the exceptional preservation of it to peer inside. And what we found were there were a couple of key bones related to the palate and the orbit of Nanotyrannus that are quite different in Jane versus our dueling dinosaurs, Tyrannosaur. And there are other differences as well. Jane shows differences in how the respiratory system invades the skeleton and features of the dentition. So Jane shares a lot of traits that are unique to Nanotyrannus, but a few that are particularly different. And for this reason, we think we've identified a new cryptic species of Nanotyrannus that's been hiding under our nose the entire time. And so we've named a new species of Nanotyrannus, Nanotyrannus lethaeus. So now we have not just one or two, but 3 predators living within the last million years of the Cretaceous in one of the best known ecosystems that paleontologists have been hunting dinosaurs for in over a century. Well, that's big news for us, and we're really excited about it. One of the major implications of this work relates to the famous predator T.Rex itself, because for the past 3 decades, a large volume of studies that have looked at basic things about T-Rex's biology, like its growth, its locomotion, its diet, its life history, have unintentionally mixed up data from 2 different tyrannosaurs. And now we need to return to all those studies and rethink everything we know about T-Rex's biology. It also tells us that life at the end of the Cretaceous, at the end of the dinosaurs' reign, was so much more colorful than we previously recognized. There was a diversity of predators in this ecosystem. It was flourishing, just like the ecosystems that came before it, and dinosaurs were doing quite well when the asteroid struck them down. I have so many people to thank today. I want to thank my team, particularly for their hard work on preparing this specimen and sharing it every single day inside the Dino Lab over the last 12 months. I know they're excited to be able to talk about something related to the project with the public going forward. And thank you all for being here with us today.
Lindsay, thank you. Dr. Zano, thank you. To say this is exciting is an understatement. This is exactly what we promised when we brought Dueling Dinosaurs to North Carolina, that it would transform science, education, and public engagement. And this is just the beginning. The Dueling Dinosaurs continue to reveal their secrets, and we are committed to sharing every step of that journey with the public. Now, for those who are here with us today, we encourage you to tour through the Dueling Dinosaurs exhibit and the SECU Dino Lab, which have already been updated to reflect these findings. You all get to be the first to see the Dueling Dinosaurs in this new light. Thank you all for being here today and celebrating science with us. Thank you.